Ted, what are you doing?
I'm just trying to count all of the D&D characters for 5th edition that I've played.
Oh, that's a great idea, Ted. 5e D&D has been around for 6 years now, and I've played a lot of characters.
So I guess maybe we should talk about some of our, top D&D characters for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons?
Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Steve, and as usual, I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Like seeing D&D videos in your feed? Then keep it coming by hitting that subscribe button.
Like hearing Nerdarchy's take on D&D and other RPGs? Then ring that notification bell and stay attuned to what's going on.
Alright, so we totally ripped this idea off from Ted from Nerd Immersion. I saw a video that he did on it, and it seemed like a really fun idea for a video where he listed like all of the different characters he's played with 5e, and we're doing a take on that. That's not exactly what we're doing, but one of the things we will be doing is linking down in the description to the character sheets on D&D Beyond for all the characters we played. Now, it's only fair that we mention D&D Beyond is a sponsor for this video, and Nerdarchy. They make playing the game so much easier, so much more fun. Whether you're building characters, encounters, or just need to access that digital database of all things official D&D, D&D Beyond powers up your D&D game.
But that's not all. All of the videos, articles, and all the great content that's over there, adds more to the game than just the character builder. So you got to check out D&D Beyond and use it just like we do. So without further ado, let's dive into some of our characters. We started listing these, and we were going through our worksheets. We both had well over a dozen characters. We both played in numerous one-shots. So we didn't want to list every single character we've played, because we'd sit here for the next couple hours, discussing and reminiscing. And, we just didn't think that, everybody wanted to see all of that. So we're going to talk about some of our top D&D characters, and talk about why these are some of our favorites.
So for me, Uthengar from Clan Blackiron is a dwarven soldier fighter, Eldritch Knight, wizard of the war magic tradition. Is got to be my top character because I played him from 1st level to 20th level. It's the first time I ever did a campaign all the way through. It's the first time I saw that I can make a wizard that fights with weapons and wears armor at 1st level and still cast spells and be effective and just be the kind of character that I wanted to play. So for me, that was a very exciting character. I spent a lot of time with that character. It's also where I learned some things about 5e D&D, like multi-classes are not as strong as single classes, right? Like the fighter in the party was way better at fighting than me, and the bard was a much more powerful spellcaster than I was. Now, I could do some like fun combos and niche things that were interesting, thematic, and I had fun doing, but all in all, they were still a little bit weaker, but that didn't matter. It was a fun character to play. You're going to look at it and you're going to be like, oh, why did you do this? You totally built this character wrong. And you're right, but that's because I had a specific vision for this character. I wanted to be a wizard at 1st level, and I wanted to wear armor, and I wanted to have weapons. So I did not go fighter at 1st level, but I still wanted my full plate or plate mail armor. We don't have full plate anymore. I still wanted plate mail armor, so I later went back and took the half feet for it, which was definitely not optimal. But fun and optimal aren't always the same thing. You want to go with your top character?
All right. So when I'm looking at all of the characters that I have played and am playing, it was really tough for me to try and trim this down to a list of 3. If you've been following along with Nerdarchy, specifically a lot of our live stuff, I have talked myself hoarse with a number of characters that I love and have played or continue to play. Relian was great. My Thorgarn that I play over on Mini Terrain Domain is awesome. Freckle Gurglop has got a lot of great stories, even though he was only a one-shot character. But I've talked about them, till I'm blue in the face. So I decided I was going to go in another direction. And I was going to, make characters that were interesting and really stood out. So first, I'm going to talk about SKEGS. He is a LIZARDFOLK guild artisan artificer. He is currently, I've only played a couple of sessions with him. Dave is the DM for this in, his Court of Worms game, where all of the characters are, well, most of the characters are all like scaly reptilian type races, dragonborn, lizardfolk, yontai, that kind of stuff. And it's really great because I decided, lizardfolk has always been one of my favorite races. Decided to take a different take on artisan, that as opposed to, working with, metal like the typical battlesmith would. What if I were to take my artificer abilities and apply that to the lizard folk cunning artisan feature and really make things out of leather and bone and wood? So like every other artificer and guild artisan that's out there, he has got loads of tool proficiencies. And with this one, I've actually wound up, creating one because he likes to carve out of bone. So we made, scrimshaw tools as another tool feature to add to the game, specifically, for my character. He has a, the battlesmith gets a companion, and, rather than just have this, hound that follows him around, he has got a bone and leather, six-legged, giant lizard that follows him around, that handles all of that stuff for him. So I totally love the fact that there's so much customization into that particular character, yet it's still all within the specific confines of the actual rules of 5th edition.
Super sweet. My number 2 is Thomas BRIGHTFELLOW, the Halfling City Watch Fighter Battlemaster. So this character is special to me for a different reason. It's not so much that the build was super unique or this character, finished the whole campaign, but this was when I played D&D in a castle in France at one of the tables as like a guest player. And, I think this character ended up at like 16th level or something, but like that whole experience was really cool. GM Tim was an amazing dungeon master, and we had so much fun with that game and the players that were involved with that game. And then not only that, like there were other tables there doing D&D in a castle, and Tim and James and Narcaso decided they were going to do joint merge of the tables and do this like contest of champions style session where it's an arena battle, us versus them. And Thomas was kind of specced out. I took all the right feats, and he's a battle master, and we started like this fight really far away, and my GM Tim apologized to the other players. He's like, "I'm so sorry," because like my opening thing was to like attack their heavy hitter barbarian, and an action surge, and just blow all of my maneuvers to push them back, to make them further away so they couldn't get to us. So they spent like the first round just moving. So all in all, like that experience, that campaign, it was only 6 sessions over 3 days, but it's very impactful and memorable to me for those reasons.
So next up, I've got a character that recently finished a story arc, and really hoping that we're gonna get to dive back into these characters at some point in time. But I've got GALESIN TRISREL. He is the half-elf charlatan shadow sorcerer. I believe we made it to 6th level before that that campaign got put on hold. But he was initially created years ago. As this, concept where Dave was like, hey, we should make a game where we're all like half brothers. We all choose these half races, and, we're on a mission to find our father. And we played a one-shot, and it was great. And then it just stewed for several years. And, recently, we have the Nerdarchy Live channel that went up, and, we started running a staff game off air, and we're like, hey, we could totally move this to a streamed game, add this and go into the full production with it. It was a fantastic game. There's a lot of in character to character moments. There's a lot of emotional impact, and that's something that I don't see a huge amount of. Like, it's definitely out there, and I've definitely played in games with it, but having all of that within this game, it was just fantastic. And it's definitely, of the characters that are on hiatus, that is the one that I am most interested in seeing return to the table.
My last one is Tunk Gurgunkel. Gurgunkel, I've said Gurgunkel to anyone that speaks Goblin is too tall in Goblin. And Tunk is a human urchin. He was raised by goblins. They adopted him as a youth, and he is also a cleric of Maglubiet with the Twilight Domain. I just have a lot of fun with this concept because the rest of the party kind of like thinks he's a goblin, but he knows he's not a goblin. But he was raised in goblin society, and he thinks like a goblin, and he tries to be as goblin as he can. And he's got really bad self-image issues because he'll never be as pretty or good looking as his goblin kin. So it's very sad for him. And also, this game is special because I play Saturday mornings with a group that kind of all came together, and they're like all internet friends. Some of them are creators and designers and Twitter personalities. And so we just play this fun off-air game. And for a lot of those folks, it's like one of the few times that they play and their game's not being streamed, and we started playing a Wild Mount game with the Frozen Sick, run by James Introcaso, the person that wrote that adventure. And then, is one of the players, Goblin Kate, over on Twitter, and they're on the D4 channel, and they're like, hey, I would really love to play in Ravenloft. I wish someone would run that. And then DM Jazzy Hands was like, I'll run that. And so after the one game wrapped up, we all got sucked in the Ravenloft, and we've been playing that, and I'm having so much fun trying to convert people in Barovia to Maglubia and trying to let them understand that if they can find Maglubia as their Lord and Savior, eventually they're going to die, and awaiting for them in the afterlife, they get to fight alongside their goblin brethren against orcs and kill orcs for all of eternity, letting orcs know that goblins are just better.
That is awesome. I love concepts where you take something, you take a character and you put him into another culture, and ironically, that's actually what I've got for my third character as well. So I have got Aragar Amber Axe, and you'd think with that name it's a good solid dwarven clan, but no, I am playing a high elf wizard, and the reason this one happens to be on there is because this is the first character that I have played in a ongoing game. It's local, it's not streamed, where I'm actually getting to play some of the Nerdarchy created content. Beardomancy is a wizard tradition that we have over on our website, and Aragar is absolutely a beardomancer. So I spoke to the DM. My son and I, who are both player characters in the game, we made our characters together. He is a mountain dwarf fighter eldritch knight, and I am the elven wizard who saw that everybody's supposed to have a beard and I don't have a beard. So he looked into, how he could find magic that would allow him to have a beard, and he totally did. I even got, permission from the DM to trade out my elven weapon training for dwarven weapon training. So I've got a wizard who totally knows how to use axes and hammers. So none of this power gaming of getting access to armor or any of that nonsense. I just wanted the weapons to be able to say, yeah, I've got that. I don't use them, I don't own them, but I know how to if push comes to shove. It's definitely a lot of fun. I love this character. My son and I, is the first game that we actually get to play together, and we totally prank and fool each other just like brothers would. It's a fantastic game, and I absolutely love it. And for that reason, and for everything else, that's why Aragar is on my top list.
Do you want to hear us talk about characters that we ended up making and then playing? Then check out our 10th level multi-class character concepts for 5e D&D character builds.
YouTube isn't the only place that we're creating content. Over on Patreon, we're making monthly content for players and DMs alike every month.
That's not all. We do weekly patron-only live chats, monthly giveaways our patrons are automatically entered in, and more.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.